Today we'll be talking about DEOR, and namely its token. Now, DEOR is a decentralized Oracle aggregation system that aims to solve the Oracle problem by aggregating data from multiple centralized oracles. And it is actually the DEOR token that powers this Oracle aggregation system, and it allows developers, but also users, to validate and ensure the quality of the data being imported to the blockchain. You might think that the DEOR token is just a simple utility ERC20 token, and you would be sorely mistaken, because DEOR is actually a blockchain agnostic solution. It's not just Ethereum that requires oracles to bring in real-world data to their blockchain. In fact, it is so far a feature of all blockchains. They all need oracles to import data. Therefore, they all suffer from the oracle problem. DEOR can therefore work on multiple blockchains, and there are efforts at the moment to port DEOR on Binance Smart Chain and Polkadot. In addition, any future blockchain that emerges as a prominent smart contract platform can also receive a version of DEOR. So this is a very broad tool that can be used on multiple blockchains. If you're going to take away one thing from this video, it is this slide. You have to realize what the main use cases for the DEOR token are. And they are: 1. Voting on Oracle reputation; 2. Paying for aggregated Oracle service; and 3. Paying for custom oracles and contract upgrades. And we're going to go through each of the use cases one by one. So let's start with DEOR for the purpose of payment of aggregated Oracle services. Now, the classical definition of the Oracle problem is that blockchains do not have access to real-world data. And in order to bring in data to the blockchain, you rely on an oracle. And it defeats the purpose of having a trustless system when you need to trust an oracle. Additionally, oracles form a central point of failure because they can go offline and they can be manipulated, and this puts the security of the smart contract at risk. DEOR overcomes all of these shortcomings by aggregating oracles alongside a number of additional security measures, so something like a dynamic reputation system or having a randomizer when you're selecting oracles. And here's a very quick demonstration. So assume you have a smart contract and you want to interact with the smart contract using a DEOR oracle. What happens is that DEOR will bring in data from multiple oracle systems and internally aggregate it and provide the result that is needed to the smart contract. Now, aggregated oracle results are actually a lot better than simple centralized oracle data. And the reason is that, number one, it reflects the true real-world data a lot better, but also it dilutes the possible damage done by a single bad actor because it becomes diluted within the aggregation. And it is this aggregation feature that is one of the major boosts in the security of the smart contract systems in general, and in the DeFi system in particular. And for these services, you can actually use the DEOR token to pay for it. The second use case is to use DEOR for customized Oracle synthesis and, of course, security upgrades. So the thing is, when you're aggregating oracles, you have to realize that a lot of the problems that we face right now is that most oracles are really only tuned to price information. And that's because of the use cases that have really come onto the blockchain, which is mainly trading. But let's assume you have a unique use case where you don't want price data. You want some other more niche form of data. So more often than not, you're going to need a custom oracle that is made for your purpose. And if we take an example, let's say you have a smart contract that's used for betting on the outcome of an election, and you need an oracle to provide you with the election data so that the smart contract can execute, so someone wins or loses money. And normally you wouldn't be able to bring in this data easily. You'd have to find either a centralized Oracle that would address this problem, or you'd have to make your own Oracle. And what DEOR allows is that you can spend your DEOR tokens to create customized oracles. And the thing is, this would also overcome a lot of the centralized Oracle problems, because the DEOR system comes with its own set of enhanced security features. So things like the randomizers, things like the data aggregation. And this allows for a lot more security in your smart contract than if you had gone with a custom Oracle from a centralized solution alone. In addition to having normal customized oracles from DEOR, you can also opt for smart contract upgrades. And this is actually very exciting, because this implies that DEOR is not just for new projects. You don't have to start from scratch when you want to implement DEOR. You can actually engage with the project to have a smart contract upgrade. So if you're already an established DEX or an established project, you can engage with DEOR to just upgrade the security of your oracles in the smart contract. And this, of course, will provide a higher level of security for your platform. And of course, for these services, both the customized Oracle creation and the smart contract security upgrade, you can pay for with the DEOR token. The last major use case is the use of DEOR for reputation voting, and this is, of course, very relevant for the data aggregation. So once you're aggregating data from multiple sources, you have to realize that not all oracles are equal. And some oracles may be more specialized in particular tasks, and the quality of data can also fluctuate over time. So based on the results of the data query from each oracle, DEOR holders have the ability to vote and tweak the reputation of these oracles. And this allows for a real-time dynamic adjustment of the weights of the individual oracles within the Oracle aggregator. So let's take a scenario where we want to pull the USD price of a particular asset. And we can see here from the 4 oracles that were brought into DEOR, one of them is a clear outlier. So DEOR holders can just immediately vote to increase reputation of Oracle 1, 3, and 4, which had reasonable values, and Oracle 2 will be downvoted because it was clearly an outlier. And then the next time that this query is made, the weights reflect the reliability of the Oracle data. And of course, this is very dynamic, so a new round of voting could change everything. So you have actually a non-static system that allows you to really gauge the quality of your data in real time. Now, alongside the 3 major use cases, so number 1, voting on the reputation, number 2, paying for smart contract upgrades and custom oracles, and number 3, paying for the data aggregation services, there is a bonus thing that you can do with your DEOR token, which is engaging in liquidity farming. Now, a sizable portion of the DEOR supply has actually been dedicated to liquidity mining, and this supports the project. So you would pair your DEOR token with Ethereum, and you provide liquidity on a DEX. So at the moment it's Uniswap, but that can of course change per chain and per DEX. And then you would stake your LP tokens, and over time you would earn additional DEOR. Of course, you have to factor in things like impermanent loss, but that is also a revenue stream for DEOR holders. Now, in summary, DEOR can be used to pay for aggregated Oracle services to enhance the security of smart contracts. You can also use DEOR to pay for customized Oracle services, and for projects that are already existing to have their smart contracts upgraded to use the DEOR oracles to enhance their security. And of course, last but not least, DEOR holders sit at the heart of the reputation system, where they can dynamically upvote and downvote constituent oracles, and this allows for a more dynamic reputation scoring system. Now, I hope this quick video helped you gain an insight onto how to use your DEOR tokens.